Okay, so you've had your camera for a while now and you're looking to upgrade your lens to get something a little bit more professional. Do I get a prime or do I get a zoom? Do I get a wide angle or do I get a telephoto lens? Do I get f2.8 or do I get f4? Now with all those considerations, based on my professional experience, I would say the 24-105 is the best first professional lens to add to your kit. What's going on, everyone? My name is Tyler. Today we're going to be talking about the 24-105 focal length. And no, this is not just a review on the Canon lens. This is more about the focal length. So I brought out the Sony G Master 24-105 that I also own as well, just to show that we're not talking about specific brands here. It's more about the focal length. So like I said, for most people, I think the 24-105 is going to be the best first professional lens that you should add to your kit for most people. All right, one quick clarification on this video before we move on. Now, when I'm talking about professional lenses, I'm talking about the professional line of lenses from different manufacturers. So with Canon, you have the Canon L series lenses, you have the Sony G Master lenses. With Nikon, I'm honestly not really sure, but that's what I'm talking about in the context of this video, and all the points that I'm making are referring to these professional line of lenses from the different manufacturers. I know some of them have cheaper versions of a 24-105, but I'm not talking about those lenses in this video. With that said, let's hop into the very first reason. The 24-105 focal range is probably the most used focal range for my projects. I'd say like 99% or 90, I haven't done the math, but if I were to go back and look at all the projects that I've shot, both stills and video, chances are almost everything would have been shot somewhere between 24 and 105 millimeters because of how versatile that range is. At 24 millimeter, you get wide enough for landscapes and even architecture stuff and interior shots and stuff like that. But all the way at the 105 millimeter end, you still get a good focal length for landscapes or compressing the images. But you also have the 85 and 105 mil for portraits and all that kind of stuff. So with 24-105, you're really able to cover most bases. And in fact, if I were to only have one lens to bring on a project, if it was just a weight savings thing or whatever the case may be, I would definitely pick the 24-105. This is the lens that I bring with me on all my travel or as my walkabout lens, just for street photography, just for fun or whatever. I'm almost always just gonna bring the 24-105. And if space is so much of an issue, but I have a little bit more room, then I'll just throw in the nifty 50. But again, if I could only bring one lens with me, it would definitely be the 24-105. Next up is image stabilization or optical stabilization. Both of these lenses here have optical stabilization, which is really good. So if you have an older style body that doesn't have in-body sensor stabilization, you're still gonna get the benefit of having a stabilized lens, so you can kind of get those micro jitters out when you are taking video, or if you're doing still life photography or landscapes or cityscapes or something and you don't have a tripod with you, the stabilization is gonna help. But if you have some of the newer mirrorless bodies that have that sensor stabilization built in, then you're gonna get something up to like, I think 8 stops of stabilization. So you're able to really slow that shutter down and be able to still shoot handheld, which is really awesome for cityscapes and stuff like that, like night photography and whatnot. And then for video, it's just game over. Just almost looks like you're on a tripod because of how stabilized your shots can look. It doesn't replace a gimbal, but if you're just handheld, it could almost replace a tripod, especially for short takes and stuff like that. Now these lenses are really sharp. Not once have I ever thought that this lens was not sharp enough for the 8K resolution or the 45 megapixel sensor of the Canon R5, or even those of you that are shooting on like the A7 IV or the Sony Alpha 1 or the new A7 R5 or anything like that. This lens is still gonna be sharp enough to be able to keep up with that higher resolution and higher megapixel count. Now, probably one of the most important features of professional lenses for me, and reason why I will wait and save up a little extra money to be able to purchase professional level lenses is weather sealing. Now, weather sealing is really important. A lot of camera bodies will have weather sealing built into them, but at the lens mount, this is really, really important. And these professional lenses will have this little gasket right here on the edge, and what that helps with is preventing dust and water and stuff from getting behind that lens and through the lens mount and hitting potentially the sensor or anything like that. Obviously, if water gets in there, it can damage the electronics and kill your camera, but you also don't want dust or anything getting on your sensor. So having that gasket built in to these lenses and the weather sealing built into these lenses gives you that extra peace of mind that your gear is going to be protected while you're out in the field. All right, next up with the 24-105 is the fact that it has a constant aperture of f4. So no matter if you are at 24mm or 105mm, you're going to be able to still stay at f4. And this is really important, especially for video shooters. If you are zooming in on a subject, although these lenses aren't parfocal, if you're on a camera with autofocus, then it's gonna almost seem like it's parfocal, because if you slowly zoom in, you're still gonna be in focus, but your aperture is not going to change, so you're not going to have a lot of light loss, and you're not going to see those aperture blades start to step down as you zoom in, like you might find on a cheaper version of a 24-105 or whatever the case may be. Now, I get it, f4, that's the elephant in the room. It's not an f2.8. The argument for f2.8 versus f4, I think, is less relevant nowadays because of how good these camera sensors are at higher ISOs. And if you're at 24mm, you're not gonna notice the difference between background blur between f2.8 and f4. That's why the 24mm primes are f1.4, f1.8, because that's when you really start to see the difference. And then on the flip side, if you're at 105mm, f4 is actually going to give you enough separation and enough background blur to make your subject pop. In fact, when I'm doing product photography, whether it's of an object like a camera or something, or even lifestyle product photography, I'm almost always either at f4 or higher, sometimes even f8 or f13, depending on what the shoot is, because I want my whole product to be in focus. I don't want the front of this lens to be in focus and the back of this camera to be out of focus if I'm trying to display an entire product. Or for example, take a look at this shot right here. You can see this is at 105mm, f4, and there's plenty of separation between me and the background, but I am in focus, and everything that needs to be in focus is in focus. And by the way, if you're wondering why I look so cool in this photo, it's probably because of the t-shirt that I'm wearing, made by the sponsor of this video, Cuts. I was super stoked when they reached out to me to partner with me and sponsor a video, because I actually really like their clothes. I like how minimalistic it looks, and the sweatshirt right here I'm wearing, it's super comfortable. It's got the perfect weight to it. And the t-shirt I really like because the way that it's cut, no pun intended, the back and the front are a little bit longer, and this is pretty awesome for being on set, because if you're lifting up C-stand arms or bending over to your camera bag or lens case to do a lens swap, either of those actions with that t-shirt, you are not revealing parts around your waist that you wouldn't otherwise want to reveal, or others on set or location wouldn't want to see. So everybody will appreciate that. So if you want to be appreciated on set, then maybe go down into the description below and use that link and use the promo code to get 15% off your order. So thank you, Cuts, for sponsoring this video and for sending out the sweatshirt and the t-shirt. Guys, I would not be talking about anything in a video if I didn't actually like it. So go ahead and get your shopping on during this holiday season. All right, so to wrap this up, the 24-105 is, in my opinion, I think it is the sleeper goat of professional lenses. It is just such a versatile lens, and this is why I recommend it for most people out there for their first professional quality lens. The reason why I say most people is because if you are a wildlife photographer, 24-105 probably isn't going to give you enough reach for safaris or birding or whatever the case may be, because you want to be pretty far away from nature, especially moose and stuff like that. So 100 to 500 might be a better option for you if you're investing in a professional lens. But if you are a general purpose shooter, if you're doing a lot of different wide range of shoots like I do, the 24-105 is definitely the lens that you should go for. At least in my opinion, that's just based solely on my experience the last 10 years of doing what I do. Well, that is all that I have for this video. I do think the 24-105 is the most useful focal range. That's why it is a kit lens for some of these higher end cameras, because of how versatile it is. And they're just amazing lenses. So highly, highly, highly recommend having one in your kit, especially if you don't have any other professional lenses in your kit already. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.